everybody. Welcome to Coffee Talk. We have a lovely, lovely guest joining us today, and we will introduce her in just a minute, but we want to say welcome to our Coffee Talk. For those of you that are new to Emaya, I'm Michaela, and this is the lovely Connie. We're co-founders of Emaya. Certified yoga teachers and life coaches. We're friends and mamas that are on a mission to really just help women connect to their passion, their purpose, and their power through online programs, workshops, and retreats. We work with women to just really cultivate that peaceful, purposeful presence within their her. So this is our Coffee Talk. We love to bring special guests on. We like to bring conversations that we're having with our students and our programs and bring them into this forum to open up the conversation, to offer tips and inspiration and really connection among our circle, and to just really connect in a powerful way because we know that there's power there. So engage with us. If you are tuning in live, let us know you're here. Replayers that are listening, let us know you're here too. Any questions, any thoughts that this conversation inspires within you, please share and engage. We want this to be a fluid and engaging and receptive and engaging conversation. So welcome. Connie, do you want to talk about what we're going to talk about today and who this lovely special guest is?
I do. So Cala and I are always trying to figure out what we want to talk about. And this one came pretty easily because Thanksgiving just happened. And, the small talk in the street is like, oh, I ate too much. There was too much dessert. I met with friends and I was out drinking too late. I'm exhausted. I'm worn out. I'm so glad it's over. I can't stand being with my family. I mean, all these conversations just swirling around me. And even just at my own family Thanksgiving, I feel like I have, especially since meeting Susan, have really been on a healthy path that has habits have been formed. And it feels really good to say no to things that I know are going to make me feel terrible later. And it's easy now after practicing. I'm not always perfect, right? And I indulge when I indulge, but I'm watching people healing through some illness in my family, and it's difficult to you fall back on your old habits because it's comforting when you're not feeling yourself, if that makes sense. And so I would say, Cala, what if we talk about this? And what if we bring this beautiful woman, Susan, on, who can add so much to this conversation because she's really helped to change my life. So what are these old habits? Overeating, over drinking, over committing, and what do we really want to create over the holidays? It shouldn't be about I don't want to see these people. So maybe it's about setting boundaries. We want to create light and joy and surround ourselves with love and good health. So how do we do this? So please allow me to introduce my dear friend, Susan Dupree. She is a holistic nutritionist. She's a yoga teacher, a lactation consultant. She is the founder of Radiate Miami, the most delicious kombucha on the planet. We want her to weigh in on this subject. She's an expert on gut health. I've personally loved Susan for, about 7 years or so. So Emaya Circle, you are in the best of hands. And as I'm talking about Susan and I was writing about Susan, I started to think about our Back to Her circle and how Susan, the ladies through week 1 really examine who am I, right? And we have all these qualities that we are. And as I'm listing all these things you are, I think to myself, God, she's just so much even more than all these brilliant things that she does. And so I love that your company is called Radiate Miami because you are a radiant light. And I think that, when I think of you, I think about how you work hard to shine your own light to bring light out in all of us. So this is who we're dealing with, everyone.
That's how I feel about you, lady. That's you.
Susan, welcome. So, would you just tell a little bit about your journey on, how you came to find this holistic health path and perhaps what that is for people who don't know what holistic living is?
Sure. First, thank you guys. I have such deep, deep respect for what you're doing with Emaya Circle. I think anyone who is under your mentorship is super blessed and has made a really smart decision. And I just really admire what you're doing. And I feel so grateful to be here and honored to sit in your presence. So thank you for having me. Yeah, holistic nutrition. So in short, when we talk about holistic nutrition versus just diet, we're talking about looking at the whole picture. I like to consider every single thing that we consume something that feeds us or depletes us. So that includes conversations and spiritual activity and physical activity and relationships and food, of course, and memories and emotions. And I think as women especially, we tend to emotional eating is something, it's almost like taboo, or we think of it as a bad thing, but we are emotional creatures and we eat, and there's no separation of that. So holistic nutrition to me is really making peace with all of that and finding ways to feed ourselves in a really holistic way, incorporating all of the different ways of nurturing and being mindful of everything that depletes us as well. So food is definitely a really big part of it, but it's also just part of it.
Right.
Yeah. And I came to it from, I think the same way all of us come to it, just from needing healing. And I found myself in the right place in the right time and stumbled upon some really super amazing teachers and just really soaked it all up. And it's still a journey. I keep learning, keeps new things keep surfacing, old things keep surfacing. But yeah, really just looking at how to fill ourselves up in all of the different ways.
I love it. And I love hearing that, right? Because it's a practice. You always come back to it and you're always learning. I think that's what makes you a great teacher, is that you are. I can remember doing your inner harmony, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but just listening to you talk about your passion and geeking out on certain subjects, and that you get really excited to dive into learn more and more and more. And that's what makes you a great teacher.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cala, do you have anything to add to what Susan's talking about?
No, I love that you said that the old stuff comes back up too, and that it's not this thing of, quick fix and we're done. It's it is this lifetime practice of being present and honoring where you are. And I love that idea of filling yourself up and being conscious of everything, because I think a lot of times I know that it'll be I'm either really fixated on my food, or then I go through this really thing where it's oh, I need to drink more water, and now I'm reading about the celery, drink celery every morning, which is great, but it's let's not, it's not just this one thing. It's how do we integrate it all? So I'm loving that you said that.
Yeah, and building trust. I mean, for me, that's the biggest thing. We are so programmed to think that there's a right way, and that whether it's a fad or whether it's even now it's what my grandmother ate, right? If you're in the know about nutrition, it's going back to traditional foods, but there's not a right way. And it's just bringing back this consciousness and this mindfulness. It has to be an active, alive practice, because our bodies, especially as women, are constantly changing, and our food has to match that, and our lifestyle we have to constantly plug into it, because it's going to constantly change. So there's not a right way. It's just learning how to trust ourselves with that.
Yeah. Maya's moving through some serious eczema. And it's funny, I'm watching myself as a mom and being busy and just knowing how I need to be feeding her and not going 100% at it, because it's hard. Right. So I know that I need to do the work, and we're about to start the whole shakedown here. But I know that I've done it for myself, and I know that and then I just think about people trying to step out of their comfort zone and how hard it is to just stop some habits that aren't serving anymore. and also be gentle with myself, right? That she does eat very healthy.
Habits.
Say it again.
Think about replacing habits, not stopping them.
Thank you.
Right? Because it's not going to be perfect. So like, spoiler alert, you're gonna mess it up. Like, there's no way to not. So just think about replacing. Replacing.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. All right, so let's get back to the holidays. And if we're looking at the holidays from a holistic lens, it's not just about what we eat or how much we exercise, as Susan and Michaela were just mentioning. It's all of that and so much more. So a lot of our traditions can be unhealthy habits, whether we like to admit it or not. So how can we enjoy the holidays, participate in the traditions, and still come into this, into the new year, which is crazy to me that it's December tomorrow, feeling healthy, vibrant, and energetic, So let's dive in. I guess I will start with boundaries. Oh, look, it's like New York City over there.
Sorry, guys.
It's all good. Just wait till the trucks start going by here. Boundaries is something I work at really hard. And just, so let's just like right now, Tony was talking about going to another party and I said, no. And he's like, you don't even know when it is. And I said, I don't even need to know when it is because I'm full. I am absolutely full right now. And I got to take care of number one. Yeah. And he was quiet. So he could go if he wants. I think avoiding the crazy makers too, those people that are going to kind of bring drama into everything. And it's hard sometimes to say no to these people or, but we got to say no to the crazy makers. And here's something that I learned from a student last year when we were sitting in a mama group. And it really changed this for me. She said, instead of flat out saying no, with so many emotions behind no and being reactive to someone else's reaction, because we've all been there, right? She said, you know what, this year I'm just going to offer a plan that feels good to me. And I'm just going to state it. I'm going to get a hotel room. Thank you for the offer to have us stay with you, but I'm going to get a hotel room for me and my family because that's just going to be the best way we're going to sleep. And we are able to come to you for breakfast at 9:00, and then we'll spend the day with you, and we can do whatever you want to do, and then we're going to turn in around 6 so I can nurse and I can X, Y, and Z.
Powerful.
And then we'll wake up the next morning, so she sort of like told everybody what she and her family were going to do. And everybody was kind of like, what? Oh, okay. I wish you were staying here, but okay. So I just loved that because she's honoring her boundaries and what she can handle for her family and making it like an offering so that people can either get on board or not.
I love that.
So maybe that's something that we can try on. And commit to your health. Another one, committing to your health this holiday season, make time for it and schedule it so that you don't say yes to too much. So, Kayla and I are all about scheduling. So get out that calendar and really assess what's happening, how many parties, how many obligations we have, and, taking some things out and streamlining it and just making your calendar number one because it's a non-negotiable.
And I think it's important to mention, if it's okay, Connie, to chime in, is that I think you say calendar to a lot of people and instantly there's resistance there or like, but you get really empowered, and a lot of us don't know how we're filling our time until it's too late and then we're exhausted and depleted. So your calendar actually becomes this really empowering tool that you can check in with and then say, oh, I already have this planned. So now I know I'm going to be too full if I say yes to that party. So I just wanted to add that too.
No, I love that. Thank you.
Can I add one thing too?
Yeah.
Really fast. Like I think when we talk about boundaries, so often we think about like how we have to kind of muscle through it or power through it, or I love what you're saying about offer something else. Just another perspective also is that when we're already full, there's not room to take in more. Mm-hmm. So if we really dedicate some time, non-negotiable, like you said, to filling our own pot, things are just going to roll off our back. Mm-hmm. It becomes so much easier. You don't need to work so hard at creating boundaries because you're making such strong choices for yourself already.
I love that.
So it's not, you don't need so much strength, you know?
It's so true.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. It's so true.
And you catch from other people's stories, right? So it's like, I'm staying at a hotel, and if they want to make a story about that and have an emotional reaction, we at least can say that's not about me. So if that's your choice, bless ya.
Yeah.
And then you can handle all that better too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you're able to see clearly. I'm not like a crazy woman. Move your body. Go take a walk with family members. You know, schedule. You know, if like taking a 5 mile run is what you have to do to stay sane, get up a little earlier, and make that again a non-negotiable. Put it in your calendar. But maybe doing things, changing things up, and taking a hike, going to a yoga class with family. Or friends, you know, just making it fun can inspire you to keep going through the holidays. So making movement part of the holidays is not something you have to squeeze in. It's something that you enjoy. Then you're filling your cup up that way.
Right. Put this in place for that. Because I think often we just think it's going to happen. Oh, yeah, it'll just happen. But like, you have to really work to convince the whole family to get up and take a walk after dinner. So like, I start the day before. Like, oh, and after dinner, let's take a walk. And they're like, what? You know, and then when I get there, I'm really looking forward to our walk later, you know, and then after dinner, like, okay, it's time. And everyone's like, all right. Like,
and there has to be one person that's doing that or it doesn't get done.
Totally. I'm okay with being a family crazy.
Yep. Me too. Oh, me too. I love it. And then the last thing I'm going to add to this conversation is something Michaela so graciously reminded me that sleep is important. You know, getting some sleep is going to help to reset. So, you know, you can schedule that in too. You could set your alarm like I do. Do you guys have the app on your iPhone that tracks your sleep? And my phone will turn off at 10 o'clock and I can't. I mean, I can turn it on, but I get all my notifications don't ding.
I love that.
I love it too, because I look down and I'm like, oh, right, it's time for bed. I need to start settling down now.
Right.
So yeah, carve out moments of rest and alone time during the day, especially for you empaths. You know, make time to be quiet.
Yeah, I need quiet time. That's something I've really, that's a non-negotiable for me. I think we'll get into it later, but I absorb so much energy that I get really tired. It's my body's way. Like you said, when you're full, you're full. I can get full. Like I go to a mall and after an hour, I can't talk to anybody. Like now my mom and we used to go shopping when I was a kid and we would always get into these fights. And now we know it's like, it's just not
too much.
Down.
So I think it's like important if you're one of those, I mean, if anybody, we all need sleep, but if in particular, if you're a sensitive being, find and schedule in that quiet time. Know where, you know, if you're staying at someone else's house, where is that quiet escape going to be for you, and nurture yourself that way.
Yeah. Suze, do you want to dive into food?
Yeah. I mean, I there's so much to talk about and I know we don't have too much time. The most important thing, I think, when looking, especially at the holidays, food in general, but especially the holidays, is that, like I said before, it's not going to be perfect. And I think that there's so much to honor about my great-grandmother's Christmas cookie recipe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not a big proponent of saying no. Eat the damn cookie. Like, this is your great-grandmother's cookie recipe that your mom painstakingly made. Eat it. But don't eat the whole plate. Right? So I'm a big fan of the you know, not the all or none. So how do we find that middle ground? How do we have a super healthy breakfast? You know, maybe a big plate of sauteed greens with an egg and, some sprouts and some good healthy fats and proteins and leafy greens. And then, have a nice big salad with some protein for lunch. And then when it's time for the dinner, have a cocktail, have a glass of wine, have the dessert that, you've been looking forward to. And then also drink a lot of water, have a green juice waiting in the fridge for tomorrow morning, have ingredients for a good healthy breakfast. So I think around the holidays, we try and be perfect. And we think we can either be healthy and say no to everything,
Right.
or screw it.
Yeah.
Who cares? I'll think about it in January. Mm-hmm. And I really just want to give everyone permission to start to trust themselves to ride the middle path. It's okay to, take a yoga class and drink a green juice and then have a martini and a, fried cheese, something like, it's okay to do all of those things. If you're checking in with yourself and you're not creating shame around it. It's a practice. It's not about being perfect. And the holidays are such a trigger for us. And I think if we can be really easy with ourselves and create just love around it and be gentle, then it's okay. It's just food.
Yeah.
It's just food. Just food. When we get in trouble is when we start to feel really bad. When we start to feel when too much sugar, too much alcohol, too much caffeine, and we start to really ride these addictions. Then we get distracted and it becomes too hard and we say, screw it. But I think if we can just, like I said, find ways to just do a little and also do the stuff that we know makes us feel great, it can be really sweet.
Yeah. So good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
And one more thing, the last thing is just to create new traditions too. So, maybe growing up, you never took a walk with your family after Santa's present, but maybe that's a new tradition that feels really good for your family now. So checking back in and starting new things that feel more in alignment with your goals and your family's goals of health and wellness. Maybe there is a yoga class Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or, we lead one because we teach.
Yeah.
I used to do that a lot, actually. I haven't done that very, very often.
Or maybe it's like if like you're not, I know like for me, I'm not eating dairy now and it feels really good. And that's something that I anticipate to be challenging for the holiday. And I do have grace around, and I want to set myself up for success. So I'm going to be bringing a dairy-free option. And then there's also inviting the conversation around, yeah, you know what? I'm a huge, huge, huge cheese fan. And sometimes I have it, but I make it a conscious choice. And I'm aware that I might feel like crud later, and it just opens up this conversation of other ways of looking at food and trying new things that I think is really nice to have and share with family and friends too.
Remind me to send you my fermented nut cheese recipe.
Yes, please.
I love it. I love that. I think that is so awesome. Thank you for bringing that up, Cala, because Tony's been gluten-free for so long, and you can't imagine how everyone makes fun of him. But
you're very good. Every time I have had a barbecue or anything, Connie's coming in with a vegetarian dish, and she goes and she cooks it, and we're all like, "That looks really good," So you inspire me to.
But I'm sure we'll have that prosciutto if it's fresh, and every now and then, Tony makes fun of me too, but I love the middle ground, Susan. It doesn't have to be all in, It doesn't have to. Why can't I have that just because I call myself a pescatarian? Why can't I have a piece of prosciutto?
Yeah, we forget life is a long time. Right? Yeah. Why are we suffering so much? What's it for?
Yeah.
There's not an award at the end because you said no so many times.
No.
It's okay to feel good with food as long as we're not abusing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I had told myself you're never having cheese again, guess what I would not be doing? Not having cheese. I would just be like, screw it,
Yeah.
So it's true.
Yeah.
Suze, can you spearhead the mindful eating and conscious eating? You sort of kind of did, but maybe go a little deeper.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that idea of how do we check back in? The best example I can give is I've been vegetarian, vegan for 20 something years, and about 3 weeks ago, I started literally dreaming of fish. Like I'd wake up in the night and be like, I want to eat fish. Like I don't even know what fish tastes like, but I'm dreaming of it, right? So it would have been very easy for me to be like, no, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat fish, but I'm nursing a baby. I had a tough birth and my body's clearly asking for something. So bringing that consciousness to that, if I hadn't been paying attention, it would have been easy to just, again, muscle through that and say, no, but my body is changed right now. It's very compromised. It needs extra strength. No matter how much supplements I take, it's not doing the trick clearly because I'm waking up dreaming about eating fish. So you have to check back in. How do you, like, where is that place? And if we're running from one thing to the next always, and we're not preparing our own food, or we're simply thinking about our families and not ourselves, where is that place to check back in and say, no, this isn't working for me right now? So I think cultivating practices around conscious eating or mindfulness is really important. Slowing down when you're eating or drinking, chewing, sitting at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Which sounds ridiculous to me right now because I have a 5-month-old. So dinner is like a 3-ring circus.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a practice. We try, being okay with bringing the joy back into eating and just knowing that it's okay to feel emotional around food. And so, how do we bring that consciousness back in? And I think exercising and meditation and walking and sitting at the table and chewing and praying and all of these things and being with family and preparing our own food are all really amazing ways to start to bring that consciousness back in and just check back in with yourself. We get an autopilot and we blink and, we're missing life. What's that Ferris Bueller quote?
I don't know.
I don't know, but that's like my favorite movie. I feel like I should know it.
You have to look around once in a while or you just might miss it. Right? It's like that. We have to. And I think we overthink conscious eating, and it's really quite simple. It's really quite simple.
Thank
it's
you.
A practice. It's not easy, but it's simple.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think also something that I'll just share real quick that really is helping me and something that I'm really trying to be better at is having like where I get into trouble and make choices that are not actually in alignment is when I get too hungry, my blood sugar really crashes. And then I will I'll grab whatever's fastest and then I'll eat more of it than I need to kind of like my body really gets triggered. So having like healthy snacks and just constantly kind of like nuts or, you know what I mean, has been really, I've noticed that. So
don't starve yourself because you're going to eat a big dinner. It's like the worst thing we could possibly do.
But so many people do it. I mean, Thanksgiving. I mean, I know I do it. And I do it too. I'm like, I'm cooking, or I'm doing all these things, and I'm like, wow, I should have eaten 3 hours ago. Like,
yeah,
give me the bread and butter.
Or I'm not going to eat all day because I want to have wine tonight.
Yeah.
No. And hydrate. Drink all the water.
I love it. You're so good. My water is in the other room. Cala, we're coming to a close, but it's okay. I don't want to rush because I think that the mindfulness and meditation is really an important part of this. So can you go into that, Cala?
Yeah. Well, I think we've spoken to it a lot, right? Which is like the more connected you are to yourself, the more that you can trust yourself and listen to your body and, trust that when you listen to your body, you're going to give your body what it needs. And, I think the connection between being present and making choices that are in alignment with who we really are is important. And I think all of that is, how are you practicing that relationship to self? For Connie and I, and I think for you too, Susan, meditation and prayer and yoga is a really big foundation for us in how we come home to ourselves and build that relationship and cultivate that inner self trust and knowing. And so I think meditation is something, if you are a pro at or something you've never done, you really can just take even just 3 minutes a day. Maybe it's longer, but with the hustle bustle of the holidays, I mean, even just 3 minutes of quiet and breathing and being with yourself will really create this foundation of how you move through the rest of your day and the choices you make. So we really are big advocates of meditation practice. But maybe
moving meditation too, right? Moving meditation.
Yes.
For those who aren't having an active practice, take a walk.
Yes.
Don't underestimate the power of a good walk.
Yeah.
I do my soul walks every day, and they are just everything. It's so true. And then the other thing that I really love, and we talk a lot about at Emaya, is like, if you're going to be having an experience, right? So let's say, I'm going to my family's house for dinner. And, for a lot of us, being around family and friends can be really triggering. Sometimes we're moving through loss and grief. Maybe sometimes it's just there's tension there. Maybe it's a joyous experience. Whatever it is, I think it's really important to set an intention for what you want to have, what you want to experience during that time, so that you really have a place to return to when there's triggers that are going off, and you can come back to the intention of what you want to create and experience during that experience or holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And I say write it down. So it's like, okay, I'm going to my family's house for dinner. I am holding the intention to be present and peaceful. Period.
So
write it down. So if there's chaos or stress, you can just breathe and come back to that and let that be a grounding, returning to self. So I think that will help. But that's all I had to share, and this has been so fun.
We need to do it together.
Yeah. I want to cook food together now that I'm really hungry.
Susan is such a good cook. Such a good cook.
I'm there for it.
Susan, tell us about. I don't know. The sound is funny. Sorry. Tell us about Inner Harmony.
Sure. So Inner Harmony is a holistic health coach certification. It's really geared toward people who want to cultivate their own holistic health coaching practice. It's great for yoga teachers. It's great for nurses. It's great for anyone who wants to kind of start a little bit of a side hustle, working with people. If you feel like maybe food is your passion and holistic wellness is your language, then Inner Harmony is a way to cultivate your voice in that. It's also really good for anyone, moms or anyone who's just wanting to bring a lot of nutrition and find their voice around nutrition into their own life. So for the very first time ever, this is the 7th year we're doing it, which is crazy.
Awesome.
Can you believe that?
Okay, amazing.
And this year is going to be the first time we're breaking it up into 2 different parts. I've had a lot of requests through the years it's usually a 7 or 8 day intensive. We're breaking it up into 2 weekends this time for the first time ever, because there's, probably a list of 35 people who have said to me for 7 years straight, I'm going to do it, but I can't take a week off of work. And now that I have a little one, it just feels like it's an easier option. So we're going to see how it goes. So it's President's Weekend, and then it's another weekend in March. It's a weekend in February and a weekend in March, which will be up on my website and up on my Instagram. But yeah, it's an immersion. We do everything from cooking to practice coaching to branding to learning how to find language around these things. Every morning is spent in discussion lecture around different scientific theories around food. We break down macronutrients, micronutrients, carbs, fats, proteins, digestive system, microbacteria. The afternoons, we do practice coaching. We do a couple cooking classes. We go deep into fermentation. And we just fall in love, right? It's
so good.
Every time I think it can't beat the last, and every time it does. And it's just a really raw, beautiful, connective experience. So yeah, it's open to anyone. If you're interested, just shoot me an email or a text or an Instagram DM, and I can tell you more about it and what it entails, what the quote unquote certification is, and what it's good for afterwards. And yeah.
What's your Instagram handle, or what's the best? Is there a website that we can send people to?
Yeah, SusanDupree.com. My Instagram is Susan Dupree. I'm also at Radiate Miami, which is my kombucha company, so I can be found there as well. Either way.
That sounds so exciting.
Suze, why don't you, when we close all this out, why don't you put everything in the comments so everybody can just click and find you?
Thanks.
That would be great and easy. Thank you for sharing this time with us. And anytime you want to get on here and talk about something on your heart, please, you're always welcome.
Thank you. And I just want to say too that if anyone has any, nutrition concerns or wants to go in deep on anything, I do have a private practice as a holistic nutritionist, and I'm also more than open to just jump on a call with you for a few minutes to see if we could troubleshoot it or whatever. I'm here for, if you are Connie and Michaela's circle, you are my circle, and so welcome to my circle. And I'm here to serve and support in any way I can.
Thank you. Thank you.
So fun. Thanks, Susan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I love you both.
Love ya.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Yeah, here it comes.
I know.
All right, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.